So in this video, this is going to be primarily for people who are fully sighted that might be watching this. I know that I have quite a few people who are blind or visually impaired who watch this channel. So in this particular instance, this video would probably be old hat to you guys. But for people who are sighted, especially those that don't know of this kind of technology, what I'm about to show you, you're probably going to be blown away that this even exists. Apparently this month is Blindness Awareness Month or Vision Awareness Month. And my personal contribution to that is for people who are sighted. Let me tell you something. If you are staring at your smartphone all day, especially in the dark, you could end up with vision problems. If you end up getting smacked in the head with a basketball, you could end up with vision problems. If you end up getting, like trauma to the head or, punched in the eye, you could end up with vision problems. You end up with in a traffic accident, you could end up with vision problems. If your family has a history of vision problems, you could end up with vision problems. You get the idea. What I'm basically trying to say is, if you are fully sighted, I would personally take the time to at least familiarize yourself with some of the technology that exists to help people who are blind or have low vision. Now, I'm not saying you become an expert in Braille, especially those later on in life who might be retired, for instance. Knowing Braille is wonderful, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. However, it does take time, and not everybody out there wants to put in the time for economical reasons, working 2 or 3 jobs or whatever. And I understand that. And again, this video is primarily for people who are fully sighted. If you have a Macintosh, the system comes with a built-in screen access program called VoiceOver. I am going to show you today how to use VoiceOver. We are going to go through the quick start guide of the program. So I'm going to start by firing up VoiceOver. Now, from the keyboard, there are 2 ways you can do this. Hold down Command. Now, on a non-touch bar MacBook, such as the MacBook Pro 13 and 15 inch without touch bar or the 12-inch MacBook. In this instance, you would hold down Function and Command. On a full-size desktop keyboard, such as the one I've got with my iMac, you just hold down Command and press F5.
VoiceOver QuickTime Player. Screen selector window. Screen selector window. You are currently on window.
Now, that voice might be too fast for you. I have personally taken the liberty of providing a caption panel that will tell you everything that the voice is saying. Now, for those of you who are not familiar with electronic speech, our voices do have names. This particular one is named Alex. The most common one you may have heard in mainstream technology, such as your in-car GPS, is most likely Samantha, or by Nuance, or Kendra by Ivona. Okay? But Samantha and Tom are most likely the ones you have heard. So, to get into the VoiceOver utility, we're going to get into the dock. Now, there are 2 ways you can get into the dock. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, I totally blanked. The secondary keyboard option for VoiceOver to turn it on and off. If you have a touch bar MacBook, hold down the Command key and press the power button 3 times. That will bring up a dialog that will ask you if you want to learn how to use VoiceOver. Now, because I'm a VoiceOver user part-time and possibly full-time in the future, depending on what happens with my vision, that dialog does not come up for me. Okay? But by default, it will come up. If you go up to a MacBook in Best Buy and do the keyboard combination again, it's Command F5 on desktops, Function Command F5 on laptops, or Command plus the power button 3 times on on touch bar-based MacBook Pros. You do that, and that dialog will come up. It'll basically say, "Welcome to VoiceOver. VoiceOver speaks descriptions of items on the screen and can be used to control the computer using only your keyboard. If you already know how to use VoiceOver, press the V key now. If you would like to learn how to use VoiceOver, press the space bar now." And that's going to, when you press the space bar, it's going to launch you into the utility that I'm about to launch. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to the dock. There are two ways to do this. You can either press Control, Option, hold those keys down, and press D.
Dock. Safari 10 of 49. You are currently on application item. To open this application, press Control Option Space.
So it said you were currently on an application dock item. To open this application, press Control, Option, and Space. You will notice that Control and Option is used a lot here. Control and Option is what we call a modifier key. If you are more familiar with Windows and JAWS, the modifier key for that would be Insert. Sometimes it would be Caps Lock. On the Macintosh, the modifier is Control and Option. Now, the reason I say if you are fully sighted and you're wondering, well, what the heck is JAWS? I suspect you've probably seen JAWS in your workplace, especially if you work around people or with people who are blind and are screen reader users. Chances are, if they are on a Windows system in the workplace, they've got JAWS. And the reason is because JAWS can be, without going into technical mumbo-jumbo, easily programmed to conform to in-house proprietary software that would not be available outside your corporation. Now, so you can press Control Option D to get into the dock, just as we've just done. To get out of it, you just press Escape.
So QuickTime Player, Screen Selector, Window, Screen Selector, Window.
Okay, so we're back in the QuickTime Player because that's what I'm using to record this video. The other way to get into the dock is if you have a Magic Trackpad. You can either have the external one that comes with your desktop, or you can obviously have one on your MacBook. You take two fingers and you double tap on the very bottom edge of the trackpad.
Dock. Safari 10 of 49.
So you can see we are also in the dock. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over to System Preferences. You can do that by pressing Control Option and left arrow or right arrow.
Sky 11, Safari 10 of 40, Google Chrome, not Safari 10 of 49. You are currently on application item. To open this application, press Control Option Space.
Or you can take one finger and swipe right.
Sky 11 of 49.
Left.
Safari 10 of 49.
Left again.
Google Chrome 9 of 49. Safari 10 of 49. You are currently on application item.
So you can use either method to switch to navigate through. Okay. You noticed, by the way, that I just silenced speech. The typical screen reader command on most computer-driven operating systems, Windows, Macintosh, even GNU plus Linux, the silence key for speech is Control. However, you can also silence speech using your trackpad. If I flick to the right and get the next item, I can silence speech by doing a two-finger single tap. That is, you tap once with two fingers. So I'm going to flick right here.
Sky 11 of 49.
Now you noticed it didn't say that we are on an application dock item. That's because I silenced the speech. Okay, all of this will become more apparent as we go through training. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it the long way. Now you can actually add the VoiceOver utility to the dock, but presuming most people probably don't even know where it is, you can get to it through Spotlight, or you can do what I'm going to do, which is what I call the long way around. So we're going to go through System Preferences. So I'm going to flick over.
Text edit, Microsoft, Pages, Contacts, Calendar, Reminder, Notes, Maps, Kindle, Amazon Mute, Spotify, News, iTunes, Books, Photos, Write, iMovie, Photo, QuickTime, Caffeine, Cash Out, Idle Jump, Elastic, TeamViewer, Android Studio, System Blend, Reverb, VoiceOver Utility, Activity Monitor, 41, Terminal, 40, System Preferences, 43 of 49.
Now,
application item. To open this out.
Now really quick.
Terminal, Activity, VoiceOver Utility, 40 of 49.
So VoiceOver Utility, that's where we're going to be going. As I said, you can amend this to your dock. You can place it in your dock. We're going to go again through System Preferences. So we're going to get back there.
Activity on Terminal, System Preferences, 43 of 49.
So I'm going to activate that, and you can either double tap or you can do a Control Option Space.
iTunes, 25 of 49. You are currently on application item. To open the...
My trackpad's being silly.
Books, Photo, Write, iMovie, Photo, QuickTime, Caffeine, Cash Out, Idle Jump, Elastic, TeamViewer, Android, System, Reverb, VoiceOver, Activity, Terminal, System Preferences, 43 of 49. QuickTime Player, Screen Selector, Window, System Preferences, Window, Toolbar. You are currently on a toolbar. To interact with the items on this toolbar, press Control, Option, Shift, down arrow. So where we're going is the little round circle with the guy in it, called
accessibility options. So what I'm going to do, it used to be called Universal Access, if you're by chance familiar with the older Macintoshes. So we're going to get over here by flicking right.
Preference pane scroll area. You are currently on a scroll area. To begin interacting with the contents of this scroll area, press Control Option Shift down arrow.
So you can either press Control Option Shift down arrow to interact, because everything is basically in little bundles, okay, with VoiceOver. So what we're going to do in this case is you can also do a 2-finger flick right, and that's what I'm going to do.
In preference pane scroll area, 31 items general button.
So I'm going to go ahead and find what we're looking for. So I am going to, like I said, I told you this was a long way around. So I'm going to go ahead and flick.
Mission, language, secure, spotlight, notification, display, energies, keyboard, mouse, track, printers, sound, startup, iCloud, internet, software, network, Bluetooth, extension, sharing, users, parental, Siri, data, time machine button, accessibility button.
Right here on accessibility.
To click this button. Loading accessibility window toolbar. You are currently on toolbar.
So we are going to go to.
Accessibility features table. In accessibility features table, general, selected, general, row 218.
And again, for those of you who are sighted, you just take your mouse, find it with your eyes, click. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to VoiceOver. You can see it's the second item from the top.
Vision. VoiceOver.
It's under the Vision tab.
Inside of the table. To navigate the cells within this table, press Control Option and then up arrow, down arrow, left arrow, or right arrow. To exit this table, press Control Option Shift up arrow.
So now that we're in this, now that we're where we want on the table, we're going to get out of the table. Control Option, Shift Control Option up arrow, or 2-finger flick left, which is I'm going to do right now on the trackpad.
Out of accessibility features table. VoiceOver provides spoken and braille descriptions of items on the computer screen and provides control of the computer through the use of the keyboard. You are currently on a text element.
So what I'm going to do is, it just told you what VoiceOver is. And again, like I said, we're going to, the speech will be a lot slower in the tutorial. We're going to launch that tutorial by simply flicking over. There's a button, okay, that basically talks about open VoiceOver help.
Enable open VoiceOver training button.
Or open VoiceOver training, excuse me. So we're going to do that right now. And again, if you're starting VoiceOver for the first time, this training, the offer to do this training should automatically launch. You just press V, as in Victor, on your keyboard.
Press open. Welcome back. Welcome back to the VoiceOver Quick Start. To resume where you left off, press the right arrow key. To start at the beginning, press the left arrow key.
Now, I've run this utility before. We want to start at the beginning, so we're going to hit the left arrow.
The VoiceOver Quick Start. In this Quick Start, you'll learn VoiceOver basics, as well as important VoiceOver commands to help you navigate on your Mac and use apps. You can exit the Quick Start at any time and finish it later. To advance through the Quick Start panels now, use the arrow keys located to the right of the main keyboard keys. On a portable computer, they're located in the bottom right corner of the keyboard. The up arrow and down arrow keys are positioned one above the other, with the left arrow and right arrow keys on either side. Now continue to the next panel by pressing the right arrow key. To exit at any time, press the Escape key.
So we're going to hit...
1 of 22.
So we're going to go ahead and hit the right arrow.
Practice what you learn. Many Quick Start panels include an area where you can use VoiceOver to practice the commands you just learned about on the panel. The Quick Start plays a sound to indicate when practice begins and ends. When VoiceOver starts and is ready for practice, you will hear the following sound. When VoiceOver stops, you will hear the following sound. Now continue to the next panel by pressing the right arrow key. The VoiceOver Modifier. You enter VoiceOver commands by pressing the VoiceOver Modifier and one or more other keys. You can set the VoiceOver Modifier to be the caps lock key or the Control and Option keys pressed at the same time. By default, you can use either as the VoiceOver Modifier. The caps lock key is the third key up from the bottom on the left edge of the keyboard. The location of the Control and Option keys depends on your computer. On a desktop computer, they are the second and third keys on either side of the space bar. On a portable computer, they are the second and third keys to the left of the space bar. During this Quick Start, when you need to enter a VoiceOver command, you will hear something like, press VO right arrow, which means press and hold the VoiceOver modifier, then press the right arrow key. For example, you press and hold the caps lock key, then press the right arrow key. Now continue to the next panel by pressing the right arrow key.
Real quick,
Negative 22.
you can alter your modifier. Apparently, caps lock is an option, and the reason I say that is because I personally stick with Control and Option. It's the default. It's what all the training materials developed by people who are blind utilize, and personally, it's what I like. So we're going to make this a little bit more authentic. Okay, I'm going to teach you. This is going to be a little bit ahead of schedule, but I am going to teach you a command. And this command is primarily for users of MacBooks. Now, yes, you can activate the same feature on the desktop, but unfortunately, without a magic trackpad, I haven't memorized that particular command, and it's part of what I call the finger acrobatics. It's about 4 or 5 separate keys all at once. I think it's Shift Control Option Command and then F11, F12 or something like that. It's just really weird. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how we can make this more authentic by taking 3 fingers and triple tapping on the trackpad. And again, I'm primarily addressing people who are sighted in this video. For those of you who are low vision or no vision, feel free to critique my instruction. So I'm going to take, excuse me, those are my clocks. I'm going to take 3 fingers and triple tap on the trackpad. And apparently that, Okay, so what I was trying to do there was I was trying to activate the screen curtain. And what that does is that turns the screen completely off. I recommend people who are sighted use VoiceOver in this manner so that they can get used to not using their sight. Okay? If you're a developer and are trying to test your application for accessibility, always use the screen curtain so that you know exactly what your clients of your software are going through, are going to be experiencing. Because the voice is like the screen. Okay, that's one of the reasons why people who are blind tend to sometimes get into a bit of a war. I don't know. I've never personally seen it happen, but I've seen sometimes, like, some people think one voice is better than the other. It really is a matter of personal preference. It's the same thing as, like, oh, what resolution is better for me? I want the best because I want the top specs. In my personal opinion, the best voice would be Alex because it can literally breathe, as you've heard in this tutorial. Some people might prefer, I've got a friend who prefers Vicky on the Macintosh. On the Windows side, I personally prefer Eloquence. Some people might prefer Daniel by, shoot, I think it's Nuance. Anyway, voices are the equivalent of the screen for people who are blind. And in addition to that, you want the user experience to be as descriptive and as easy to use as possible. Because remember, for those of you who are sighted, we can't just, people who are blind, we can't just, we can't just, glance and click. That's why we have things like navigating by heading, navigating by row, navigating by table. It really, really speeds things up. And if you are making a PDF, I would highly, highly recommend creating a web page version of it, a fully accessible version of it that can navigate like a web page, saving it in HTML, whatever meets the needs you're trying to accomplish with your PDF, because you want people who are blind to have the same experience as a person who is sighted when it comes to having a fluid, easy to use, buttery smooth. You want them to concentrate on the information in your PDF, in your handout, in your software. You want the person to get done what your software is designed to help them get done. You don't want them to have to worry about, does my software, does your software work with VoiceOver? Because one blank button can throw somebody completely off. That's one of the reasons I'm teaching you about this tutorial. Now, I've decided, given the time, that I'm not going to go through the whole business, but we'll go over maybe 1 or 2 more slides, and then I will leave it to you guys to continue on your own, because this apparently is a lot bigger than I remembered. So I'm going to go ahead and continue on to the next slide. Again, right arrow key.
Keyboard help. VoiceOver provides keyboard help for learning about the keys on your keyboard. After you start keyboard help, just press a key to hear its name. If you press the VoiceOver modifier at the same time, you hear the name of the VoiceOver command assigned to that key and a brief description of the command. Use VoiceOver now to start keyboard help. Press VOK. When you're done, press the escape key to exit keyboard help and return to the quick start. Then press the right arrow key to continue to the next panel.
So we're going to go ahead and initiate keyboard help. Control Option K.
Keyboard help. Control.
So keyboard help is now on. So let's go ahead and press a command.
Option. Control. D. Go to dock. Moves VoiceOver cursor to the dock.
Go to dock. Moves VoiceOver cursor to dock. Control Option.
Control. Option. F. Finds an object that matches text within the window.
So finds an object that matches text within a window. Now I'm going to try, because I haven't tried the VoiceOver help with the trackpad before, so I'm going to try and see if that is an option here.
Click right. Move right. Moves VoiceOver cursor right.
Sure enough, it is. So I can
touch. Double tap. Perform action for item. Perform the default action on an item in the VoiceOver cursor.
So double tap is the same thing as Control Option Space. So I could do a 3-finger.
3-finger triple tap. Toggle screen turned on or off. Screen turned hides all displays behind the black screen.
And I'm going to show you that right now. So this gives you a general idea of how the help works. And again, you start VoiceOver for the first time, you'll automatically be entered into utilizing this help. If you're a developer, definitely take advantage of it. Okay? Definitely take advantage of this.
Stopping. Press the right arrow key to continue.
Okay, that's interesting. I don't know why it brought up the VoiceOver utility. That's odd. Let's see. Hit escape. Okay. What the heck just happened? VoiceOver.
Keyboard help. VoiceOver provides keyboard help for learning about the keys on your keyboard. After you start keyboard help, just press a key to hear its name. If you press the VoiceOver System Preferences Accessibility window, open VoiceOver Training.
So I just used the escape key to get out of that. You get the general idea. Like I said, VoiceOver Training, definitely take advantage of it. For those of you who are sighted, you may have just seen something you've never noticed before. The help works with, the keyboard help apparently works with the trackpad and the keyboard. And that's personally something that I like, because if you're an iPhone user, 90 to 95% of the gestures that they utilize in VoiceOver on the iPhone and on the Mac are transferable. The 2-finger flick right and flick left that I've been using does not translate over to VoiceOver on iOS. Likewise, there are some flick up and flick down gestures in the menu bar, specifically applied to the menu bar on macOS, that do not work in iOS. 2-finger flick right and flick left to interact and not interact in a web browser. You will notice that that does not transfer. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, again, continue the training. You will find that you'll see what I'm talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of this.
QuickTime Player. Screen selector. Window. Screen selector. Window. You are currently on window.
And I am going to...
Menu bar. Apple. You are currently on menu item. To open this menu, press Control Option Space. Menu extras. Stop recording. Menu extra. You are currently on menu extra. To open this menu, press Control Option Space.
I'm going to go ahead and end it here. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me in the comments. For those of you who...
Screen selector. Window. Screen selector. Window.
For those of you who are... And again, that was another timeout feature. If you are part of the blindness community, you know somebody who is sighted that can benefit from this video, please give them the URL, have them take a look at this video. And If you want to shut off VoiceOver, it's Command F5, Function Command F5, or Command and the power button 3 times on your Mac, depending on what model you have.
Menu bar Apple. You are currently on menu item. To open this menu, menu extras. Stop recording. Menu extra. You are currently on menu extra. To open this menu, press Control Option Space.